Alright, so here we have number 404 for this same person. This is the second K7400. They had two 7000s and two 7400s. Hopefully this one doesn't give me as much grief as the last 7400. So we'll see. But like I showed on the first 7400 that we did for this person, he included two new cap kits for both of them. So this is for this one if it needs it. I don't know yet. We haven't taken it out. If it doesn't, we'll send it back to him. So I don't know the situation of this. I just know this is the last 7400 because it's the last one in the box. So I haven't even opened it up to look. So let's take a look and see what we're dealing with here. Okay, no picture. Well, that could mean any number of things. It could be dead, or it could turn on and have no image. In which case I already have a video showing the symptom of that. It's usually R811, where if it powers up and you have neck glow and it works, but there's no image, and you turn your screen pod up on the flyback, if you get an image but it's black and white, it's R811. So I don't imagine it's going to be that easy, but it could be. We'll find out. So no picture could mean any number of things. Bad, or no B+, completely dead. We'll figure it out. But so no picture. I don't know if that means no power or what, but let's see here. Neck board. Oh, well, pretty dirty. We'll have to clean this one too. Nice and dingy and dirty. Bend that out a bit, and that one, not too bad. Pretty low life. If we look at the neck board, it's not all burned up like most of them, so that's good. And nothing appears to be missing. It is very dirty. I say low life, but it has been running for quite a while because there's dirt and everything all over this. So it has been running for a while, even though it's not burned up. Still relatively low hours because of that. But of course we got our neck board resistors. You want to spread these out so they don't induce heat on each other, make them live a bit longer. So neck board appears to be okay. No broken pots, nothing out of whack, and just, oh wow, the red. Blue is absolutely completely turned all the way down. Green was pretty much all the way down, and red's about, I don't know, 25%. So all of our color pots were almost pretty much all the way off, which is not uncommon for these. But we'll put them about 30% like I normally do, just as a good baseline. These chassis don't generally like these pots to be higher than about 30%. You start getting color bleed and things like that. They're pretty much overdriven. So we'll put our drive pots to center. Okay. So, all right, our neck board examination and work is now done. Let's go ahead and just take this whole thing out. Nothing else in the box. And it will need caps. All these caps are original. No big deal. Oh, lovely. Our linearity coil has seen some better days there. Wow. Not completely uncommon to see him broken like that, but I mean, in actuality, it probably would have been okay because what's important is the little magnet here under the coil. That's what's important. It can sit out like this and be fine. It's just that magnet has to be just right. But we'll glue it back in place. Probably the first thing we do is glue it back in place, just so it stays there while we're working on it. Let's go ahead and just get rid of our remote board here. Let's inspect it first. Yeah, it's pretty dingy and dirty as well. Look at this. Wow. We'll clean this one up just like the 7000 in the previous video, but the pots all seem okay. Harness seems all right, so we'll set that aside. The neck board, let's go ahead and get it removed since we know it's okay. We may have fun trying to do this here because this has never been taken off. Oh, that wasn't so bad. I was able to twist it off of there. Okay, neck board's off. We'll set that aside. And we'll take this backing off and inspect all of our solder traces later. But I don't suspect we have any issues because these aren't all wobbly. They're nice and secure and tight, so I imagine everything's okay. But, alright, so let's remove our main board here. This is stuck. What the heck? Oh, R104 is bent over. That's always good. Okay. This is like someone glued this on here. There we go. Jeez. Well, R728 has a lot of burn on it. That's uncommon. That right there is uncommon to see that. Interesting. I wonder if that resistor is any good. Okay, someone has replaced the B+ pot. So someone's been doing some work on this and tampering. Some previous work, if you will. But everything appears to be complete. Yep, all the caps are original. Well, I take that back. Most of them are original. These are all original, absolutely. But somebody has replaced this one. You can tell because the glue is missing. Someone's replaced these two have been replaced. And those appear to be the only two. Yeah, I think these are the only two that have been replaced. So, very interesting. Okay. Well, I don't see anything that's leaping out at me. Except the B+ pot being replaced along with these two caps. Everything else seems okay. So let's look at the back side. Oh, wow, yeah. See, that's not normal. This is not a normal sight. This resistor has gotten so hot that it has blackened the board, and that is not normal. If we continue to look around here, oh, R104, when it got shoved over and bent, it lifted the leg here, or the pad. Not the end of the world, but yeah. Man, I am dirty from that last chassis, man. I'm working on this one back to back from the other one. The video you'll see another, well, for me it's the same day as the 7000, but I wanted to get all these done and sent back to the owner tomorrow, being Monday. Today's Sunday. So Sunday, Halloween. I'm working on chassis on Halloween. So I wanted to get all these done so I can send them all back to the owner at tomorrow. But yeah, so we'll have to fix that. That's not a problem. It appears to still be intact as far as the trace, but we'll test it. All right, Q703, is that intact? Yep, it is. If Q703 is bad or the pads are broken, it'll be dead. So that's something to test for sure. Get rid of all of that junk. Well, I guess what we'll do is we'll just start doing some testing here. It's probably going to be easier to just do our light bulb test than to go through here and do all the individual testing. But like I say, when you test R104, if R104 tests good, then you can pretty much guarantee that nothing in this area is bad. So just a real quick test is R104 should be 10K. Between 10K and 13K is what this usually reads. 9.7, close enough. So we have a good resistor. Let's test our voltage regulator, which is this guy right there. And we should have 0.5 voltage drop to one leg, and I think 1.0 to the other. So there's our 0.5 voltage drop, and the other leg is our 1.0. So that's correct. Let's test our switch mode power supply chip, IC or U101 right here, this guy right there. And we're looking for, okay, across this pin and this pin like this in diode mode, we should get our voltage drop. Yes, we do. And then across this pin and this way, we should get our voltage drop. Yes, we do. And then across this pin, I think should be 1.7, 1.9, close enough. I think this is 1.5, 1.5. So all signs indicate that our power supply section should be good. So we can test our HOT just to see what it's doing. HOT is here and here. HOT is good. So Q703 again is this guy here. If it's dead or bad, you won't have any activity or signs of life. Get off of there. So if we test that, I believe we should have voltage drop to one leg and then 1.0 to the other. 1.2, close enough, and then this should be our voltage drop. Yep. So there you go. Q703 should be good. Not worried about testing vertical collapse problems, you know, R303, D302, D603, testing our vertical IC. I'm just interested to see if it turns on before we test all that. If we get it to turn on and work and function and we have collapse, then we'll test the other stuff at that time. Because I've already got videos on fixing collapse issues with this series of chassis. So let's see. I kind of want to glue that in place, but it'll be okay for now. So I guess what we'll do, since everything seems to be okay, let's take L100 out of circuit and do our light bulb test. So L100, let's get this out of here. That's going to be this guy. There we go. L100 is out, which is right here. But out of curiosity, let's go to ohms and test R728 here, because it just looks bad. Well, look at that. 2.1 mega ohm. Well, I'm glad I tested that. I'm not sure if that would have done anything, because it's on the output. It's attached to the output side. This is L100 here. Across here to here is L100. This is the leg of L100 we took out, and it's tied to that resistor. So I don't think it would have done anything, because it's on the output side of the B+. But it's interesting as to what it's reading. So out of circuit, it's reading, oh yeah, 12 megohm. Yeah, can you see that there? 12 megohm. That is no good. Well, I just happen to have a donor chassis here down in the pile. And we have, it's a bit smashed, but we have an R728 right here. And let's grab that out of here. It's handy to have all these donor chassis on hand, if you will. It makes fixing these in a quick turnaround time nice, but of course if I didn't have all this stuff, I would have had to order all this stuff. So they'll still get fixed, but it's nice to have this stuff on hand because it gets fixed much quicker. So let's see what it's supposed to read. 1K, 1000 ohms, so 1K. So I'm fairly certain that might have been a contributing factor to it being dead. It should not have been burned up, but the thing you have to ask yourself is, why did it burn up in the first place? Who knows? It could have been any number of reasons, but our HOT reads good. Our power supply section tests good. We haven't done our light bulb test yet, but it could have burned up because of improper B+ regulation, or someone had the B+ set wrong. It could have been any number of issues, but everything so far that we've tested tests good and should, in theory, work. So let's go ahead and just get our 728 reinstalled. And I may want to test the components that are attached to our 728. Really? You don't want to go in there? There you go. Come on. Are you too good for your home? Answer me! Okay. So we got a new resistor soldered in place. Let's test our 732 that's right next to it. 1K and 1K. Now, what does 732 read on our donor chassis? 2.1K. Well, this is a U5000. Let's grab our actual 7400. This is an actual 7400 here. All right, and it looks like we've already robbed a couple of these or taken them out of circuit for testing. Either way, okay, so 732 reads 1K and 728 that we just changed 1K, so that's correct. So that's not a problem. We got 1K and 1K. What else is attached to that? We got C121. And that runs over to, there's a diode here, Zener diode. Let's test that. That seems okay. The other output side of that runs to C716, which is then it goes to this transformer. Well, I think I'm just willing to risk it here. So let's do our light bulb test. If that passes, let's put it back together and turn it on, and we'll just, if it works, then we'll attribute our problem to a bad R728. So we'll set that aside for now, and let's grab a 1, 2, a 3. The world may never know. All right, so this one will go to our light bulb. This one will go to our meter. This will go to ground. Okay, volts DC. And we're looking for around 125 to 127. Okay, this will go to meter, and we'll hook ourselves to ground here. Okay, now we just need a light bulb, which I should have chilling out over there, right here. Nothing's touching, we're hooked up. Let's get power applied. There we go. Okay. Let's zoom out a bit. All right. Reposition. Okay, here we go. We'll just touch this to here and then touch our frame, and it should light up. So turning power on, 1, 2, 3. Okay, 179 volts, that's good. Touch this to ground and see what happens. Yes, 129. We're looking to be our 125, so let me, that's going to be a bit high on our voltage, our B+. So let's turn this off, and we will turn this down slightly. I can't tell how much that's going to turn though. There, slightly. Let's turn it back on. See what we get now. 125, perfecto. All right. Off we go, and let's discharge this before we touch it. There we go. Alrighty, so I think what we'll do is let's just go ahead and put it back together and try it out. Maybe all of our problem was the bad R728. Let's get this out of the way. Our jumpers back. Let's get L100 resoldered in, because I seem to forget that every single stinking time. There we go. Okay, put this on here. And where did you go, my lovely? Let's get this linearity coil glued in here. Alright, so I'm going to cut away and I'll let this dry. When I come back, we'll have this on a tube and we'll fire it up and we'll see what it does. Alright, anode, neck, yoke, ground, power, remote board, no video because I want to make sure it actually turns on and nothing's going to damage and send a feedback to my board. So, we tested everything. Light bulb test tests good, HOT is good. Q703 is good, so it should turn on. Now, why R728 burned up, I don't know. But for this purpose, we're going to see if it even A turns on, B, nothing blows up, and see what happens here. So all of our tests indicate that it should turn on. So let's find out if that's accurate or not. So let's see here. 1, 2, 3. It does indeed turn on. So let's go ahead and turn it off and hook up a video source. You are not part of my video source, so here we go. Okay, let's try again. You know what I should do is I forgot to hook up my meter for B+ here. So let me cut away, get this set up, then we'll turn it on and see what we get. Okay, so we're now hooked up to read our B+. So if my calculations are correct, from previous testing, where about 125 setting is going to end up at 117. We'll see if that's accurate. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. We're high, 118.8. That's awful high. 119. And no image yet. Oh, there we go. It's working. Vertical hold. Right there. Perfect. So you heard that high-pitched noise that went away when I got that to lock on. So let's start with brightness and contrast. Well, brightness and contrast were all the way down. Interesting. Let's turn up our screen pot here until we get an image. There we go. And turn it back down to roughly there. We got another one of these. I need to reflow this. All right, well there's our image, contrast, brightness, down to roughly there, Let's acknowledge this, and it's working. But we're a bit high. Let's see if we can adjust this on the fly. I did not mean for that to rhyme. I don't think I'm going to be able to do this here. Well, maybe I can. I got my plastic tool here. Let's reach here and see if we can adjust this down to 117. Got it. 117.3. Fantastic. All right. And there's our image. We need to adjust height. Well, first off, we need more brightness. Oh, contrast is too high. The contrast is too damn high. Okay, there's we go. H position. Let's go. Whoop. Dirty pot there. H position there. Let's go with our width, roughly there. That seems good. Alright, well, it's a bit jumpy. Probably got dirty pots, possible bad caps, but vertical position right there. And height, let's just wipe our pot back and forth real quick. And there we go. And it appears to be functional. We're stable at 117. Oh, it went dropped down a bit, but that's fine. 117 is good. And yeah, I'm sure it needs caps. It's a bit jumpy. It's jumping a bit. It's hard to see. If we get it all in frame here, it's jumping a bit. I don't know if you can tell, but yeah, it's jumping. Well, okay, so it's functional. It's working. And we have a good, decent image. It fills the screen, but it is jumping a bit. So let's do our full cap kit and our full reflow and come back and make sure we're still at 117 and clean all this up a bit, and let's see if the jumpiness goes away and how much better it looks on the backside. Can I get this? Can you see it jumping and chattering a bit? Yeah, it's doing this. Let me try something. Let me turn this off, and let's just take our height pot and just wipe it back and forth. Sometimes you can get away with fixing things like that by just going like this and wiping the pot back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth a number of times to possibly clean it up. And then we'll try our vertical hold and do the same thing with vertical hold. Just wipe it back and forth a number of times. Okay, vertical position, we can do the same thing for that. If these pots stay in one setting for a long time, they can develop oxidation. It could also be we can reseat the connector here on our remote board, because I've already reseated it on the main chassis, so you can reseat this as well. A lot of times just oxidation or bad connection can cause issues like that. So now let's turn it back on and see if that did anything. Here we go. Okay, we're still at 117. I gotta adjust our vertical hold again. There we go. And vertical size, which is height. So far so good. Let's acknowledge that. I got some degaussing here. This thing sits downstairs, and when I bring it up here to do testing on, sometimes it causes the gouging issues. And so far it's not jumping. I'd say that may have fixed it. Yep, it's nice and stable right now. It's hard to tell in the camera, but in person, I can tell if it's not doing it anymore. Right now, it's nice and stable. Okay, well, hopefully I think that may have solved that problem. So now, what we need to do is take it off the tube, do full cap kit, full reflow, a better inspection, or full inspection, and then get it cleaned up a bit. I don't think I'm going to need to actually bathe this one in the sink. I think I can use my brush here and with some air and clean all this off without having to actually put it in the sink. However, the neck board may be a different story, but I'll get this cleaned up and we'll get our reflow and our cap kit done, and we'll come back and see how it turned out on the after, and if we can get well, the image probably won't be any better because it looks pretty darn good right now. It might not be a better image, but we'll make sure it still works on the backside, and we'll call this a quick and easy fix. We had a bad R728. Of course, we didn't test it before, so I don't know if this was the cause of it being dead, but since this is on the output side of the B+ section, which is directly off of the L100 output, it very well could have been, this being open could have very well been the cause of it not being operational. So, yep, as you can see, it's working now just fine. Yeah, and the longer it's on here, let me see if I can get a better focus out of this here. That's pretty good there. You can see all the dot pitch. That's about as good as I can make it. Our contrast is a bit high because it's causing us to not have that good of a focus here, but it's still pretty good. Pretty darn good, I must say. In the middle, anyway. Okay, enough babbling. We're still good on B+. Let's get this off and get all the work done to it and come back and see how it turns out on the back end. So stand by one moment. Alright, so I got the chassis out, and as I was removing it from the tube, I noticed something interesting. I was getting it ready, of course, to do all the work to it, and I turned the monitor off and got the chassis out, and as soon as I got the chassis out and set the tube down, I went to touch R728 and it was basically ice cold. It wasn't even lukewarm. I mean, we were running the machine for at least a good 5 minutes. I'm sorry, the tube. And we were running the monitor for at least a good 5 minutes there. Between turning it on and when I turned it off. And 30 seconds may have gone by between when I turned it off and when I got this on the bench here. And R728 wasn't even warm. It wasn't even lukewarm. Neither was R732. So whatever caused the original one to burn up, I can't say because this one wasn't even warm. So you would think if there was something wrong with this that was burning up, this resistor, it would have got very hot very quickly. But that's not the case here. This was ice cold. Well, I don't want to say ice cold, but at room temperature. But it wasn't even lukewarm. Like I could put my finger on it after running for 5 minutes, and I couldn't even feel any warmth coming off of it. So I don't know if maybe something caused this to burn up on maybe the bad picture tube, maybe a bad yoke. I can't say. But if that was the case, you would think that you'd have an HOT go out or some other kind of catastrophe. But this is a bit of a head scratcher for me because you would think that if something was bad that burned this up, it would have caused this one to burn up as well or get very hot very quickly. But nope, it was nice and cold. So I have no answer. So let's just go ahead and I'll do all the cleaning and the reflow work and the cap kit, and we'll see how it turns out. But my plan here is to just use some air and a brush, and you can see just from using a brush how well this works from just brushing it without actually having to put it in the sink. I mean, this works pretty well just from doing this. So you don't always necessarily have to put it in the sink if you don't want to, because you can just brush most of this gunk and dirt off of here. But it's your call. I mean, if the rest of the chassis is not that bad, like the rest of this chassis isn't that bad. It's not very dirty really at all. It's just the flyback area and the heatsink on each side. It's just the flyback area and the heatsink. The rest of this is not very dirty at all. So I don't really want to put this in the sink because it's not necessarily a good candidate for that. We just need to go through here and brush all this dirt off along with some compressed air, and it should be just fine. So I think I'm going to do that. The neck board, of course, probably is going to have to go in the sink. Well, maybe not. That's coming off quite nicely. Look at that. Just a quick, wow. Just a quick brushing. And all that dirt that was there before is now gone. So yeah, you don't always have to run this in the sink. Unless it's really coated in dirt. But just a quick brushing, look at that. It's almost brand new again, just from a quick brushing. Awesome. That'll save me a lot of time. Yeah. All right, I'm liking that. Outstanding. While we're on the subject of this neck board, let's cut this back off of here. And check out these solder joints. They're a little heat there, but otherwise not too bad. I'll do the reflow, but none of the pads are broken, none of the traces are lifted. Looks pretty good. So yeah, all right. Okay, so with that all being described, here's our cap kit. Let's get to it and come back and see how it turns out on the back end. Okay, all done. So I got the linearity coil re-secured. It's nice and glued in place. The entire chassis has been brushed off and cleaned with air and the brush, and it's looking nice and minty fresh without having to put it in the sink. So all the caps have been changed, full reflow on everything and anything that needed it, the whole thing. Everything has been cleaned up with the alcohol like I showed in the process of the previous video. So the main board is now complete, all issues resolved. The neck board has also been fully cleaned and resoldered and cleaned up, and new caps, all good to go. I need to put the backboard back on. Remote board has been brushed off and cleaned as well, so we have a nice, good, new chassis here. Let me get a couple of zip ties. Where'd you go? This way. All right. Is that right? That's not right. It's this way, this way. There we go. All right. Okay, so I don't have an explanation as to why R728 burned up. It may have had something to do with one of these two caps that was previously replaced, and whoever tried to do the repair didn't realize that it was burned up or didn't know how to test it, or I can't say. Following the traces, it goes through C121 and down to this cap right here. And this is one of the ones that was changed. So possibly this cap went bad and burned up that resistor. But we know from our previous testing that at least it ran for a good 5 minutes, and the heatsink, this was warm, this was warm. This was not even, I could touch this and hold on to it the whole time and it didn't even heat up. So I think we are going to be in the clear. I think whoever worked on this prior determined this cap was bad. And this may have been the deciding factor in burning up this resistor, because it is on the same trace. If you follow it across this way, it goes to a bunch of other dozen components. So I think our culprit was this bad cap. So I've actually had this cap be bad before. That was killing the board. It didn't take out the resistor, but this cap being bad was keeping the chassis from powering on. It might have been this one. I think it was C725, but I can't say. It was one of these two caps, but I'm pretty sure it was C725. But anyway, so now we are all clean, all reflowed and capped. So let's get it back on the tube and see how it looks after all this work. Well, we're all hooked up, ready to go, ready to do our final testing. There's all the old caps. And it's always a good idea to hook your B plus back up to read it, because if you have bad caps that cause you to have to adjust the B plus to get the correct reading, and you change those out with good caps, it could affect the B plus reading. So you want to make sure we're still at 117. And now some chassis it doesn't apply to, like the K7000 has regulation off the voltage regulator, you know, aptly named, but there's no B plus pot on a K7000. So some chassis it doesn't always hold true, but for this series and the Sanyo 20EZ are, that one in particular is a must. The G07 as well. So for this series of chassis, we want to make sure that our B plus is still 117 post cap kit. So we're hooked up to read that. So we're going to turn it on, make sure I didn't put any caps in backwards, make sure it still works, make sure it looks pretty good. It looked good before, but we want to make sure it still looks good now. So let's go ahead and turn it on, make sure we have 117, make sure nothing blows up, and see how it looks. So 1, 2, 3. And we have 116.9, come on, get there. Yes, 117. So we're good. And we have an image. So apparently nothing's in backwards, nothing's blown up yet. And how do you do? Look at that. Let's just wait. I gotta hit that. And awesome. So yeah, all right. I'd say we are running well. And it takes a while for this tube to brighten up, but it's looking pretty good so far. I'm not going to be too worried about adjusting colors and everything and contrast stuff because it's not staying on this tube. But we can try and brighten it up a bit. I'd say that's pretty good. Brightness a little bit more, yeah. Okay, there you have it. This tube, the outer perimeter of the tube is out of focus, but the middle part is in focus, and it's just not a good tube. it's old and tired, and let's see if we can make this better. That's better there, a little bit. That's better. But you can see how it's out of focus there, but in focus there, much better. So that's why this is a tube that we use for testing. So, all right, I like it. A success. All right, so let's let this run for, I'll give it 3-4 hours like I always do, but we're all clean. All the work is done. I'll bag up all the caps and send those back to the owner just so there's evidence, obviously, of me changing them out other than this video. And our culprit, our suspected culprit was our 728 right there. It was reading in the megohms. And again, what caused it to read like that and what caused it to burn up, I can't say. But we have a fully functional chassis here, and it's running right perfect at 117. And we have a really nice, good looking image. And it's no longer jumping up and down. I reflowed. Part of my reflow procedure is all of the header pins for the neck connector and all the header pins for the remote board on both here, and at the other side of this. This is all reflowed as well. So I do all that too, as well as every other pad and power supply section and vertical IC and everything and anything that even looks remotely oxidized or in possible need of reflowing, I reflow it. So I'd say I reflow maybe about 90% of the pads on these chassis every time I do the reflow. It only takes about 10 minutes or so to reflow the entire thing. It's not too bad, but it's working perfectly. As I sit here and watch it, it's no longer jittery, and I think we're good to go. So I'll let it run, and we'll see, and we'll count this as another success. So yeah, I actually have, here's this entire box full of boards here. So I've got like 16 or so in here to get to. So that'll be quite fun. So stay tuned for all that. We'll see how that all goes. Easy for me to say. I'll get all this stuff back up, and we'll get this after it does its burn-in test. We'll get this back to the owner, and that's 4 for 4 on all of his. So I'm happy that turned out well. And well, stay tuned for the next series of repairs, and we'll see you then. I appreciate it.